Maybe you still don't have a clear view of what mindfulness is or how it can help you. Stick around through this video and I'll try to make the picture a little more clear. There are many different definitions of mindfulness, but right now there are four main ideas about mindfulness that I will introduce you to. I'm not going in depth with these ideas in this video, however they will be recurring themes in future videos. The first idea is that mindfulness does not teach you how to focus, but teaches you how to refocus. What times in your life do you notice your mind drifting away from your present situation, or what you should be focused on? Maybe while at a meeting at work, during a boring presentation, hopefully not this one, a long phone call, or even a long one-on-one conversation. What about more high-risk situations, such as when you are driving or even cutting the grass? If you had to guess, what percentage of the time do experts estimate that we are distracted? Obviously, it depends on how interested we are in what's going on at a given moment. But researchers believe our state of mind is distracted up to 40% of the time. Can you believe that? Almost half of our day may be spent thinking about things other than our present situation. How can this happen, you might wonder? The simple biology of our brain. Of course, I'm using the word simple in quotes because our brain is anything but simple. Our brain processes millions of bits of information every few minutes and relays that information to a variety of body parts and processes. There's always some thought or bit of information competing for our attention, which is delivered to us by our five senses. Learning to be mindful is not necessarily to keep us in the moment, but to gain awareness that our mind has drifted and bring it back to the moment, learning how to refocus. Two areas that our mind likes to drift are to what has happened in the past or what we anticipate will happen in the future. Living like this has been identified as contributing factors to depression or anxiety. Mindfulness teaches us a way of life which helps us pay attention to our present moment experience with an open and non-judgmental mind. We learn to bring our attention to what is happening now in order to live in the present world, which is generally devoid of stress because there are no thoughts of past or future. One common misconception about mindfulness is that it's the same thing as meditation. Does anybody ever ask you, or have you ever asked anybody if they work out? At the very least, I'm sure you've heard the question asked. If a person answers in the affirmative, the logical follow-up question is, what kind of workout do you do? The first question is pretty straightforward and can be answered with a simple yes or no. The second question requires a more detailed answer. These two questions can be altered and applied to mindfulness. Do you work out is comparable to asking someone if they practice mindfulness. If they say yes, then you could ask the more detailed question of, how do you practice mindfulness? Working out and mindfulness are ways of life, while meditation is an exercise used to improve mindfulness. No different than cardiovascular exercise improves your heart. Just like a muscle needs stimulation to grow, meditation is a form of exercise for the brain. While all of this sounds amazing, obviously we have to learn skills to work toward getting to the point of being present where we are at. So how do we work mindfulness into our daily schedule? That answer will be different for everyone, but you will learn that scheduling time for your mindfulness practice will be more efficient and convenient than scheduling time to exercise. What does that mean? With persistent, consistent focus and effort, mindfulness will eventually become a way of life. Until you evolve to that point, you will need to go through the growth of developing your mental muscle. Like any new skill, the practice will take intentional, focused attention. Do you remember when you learned to walk? Most likely you don't. However, we can say with almost certainty that none of us went from the crawling stage to the running stage of development. Learning to be mindful is no different. We'll be using various forms of meditation to help develop mental muscle. But we'll also expose you to different ways to practice mindfulness when meditation is not available to you. At the beginning, you'll have to be very routine when you practice, just as you would in scheduling time at the gym. However, you do not have to set aside large amounts of time daily to experience results. In fact, scheduling mindfulness will become a daily habit, no different than brushing your teeth or taking a shower. How long will it take for daily mindfulness to become a habit? Research tells us that depending on the skill you are trying to acquire, 18 days to 8 months of daily devotion may be required. The great part about mindfulness is that you may start seeing results right away upon beginning to practice. You may begin to notice changes in your mindset early on, which will lead to looking forward to your sessions of practice. You will notice how your mind operates differently based on whether you practice on a given day or not. As mindfulness transitions into a way of life, your level of self-awareness will increase exponentially. You will begin to recognize how your mind responds to stressful or potentially stressful situations. You will notice physical changes in your body, such as how your body responds to exercise and diet. You will notice patterns of thinking or patterns of behavior in response to situations in your life. You will reduce the amount of time that you are living situations twice, once in your anticipatory mind and once in reality, and you will recognize that these two situations rarely match. Think about difficult feelings that you experience in your life. How do you address them so that you're able to move forward? Have you been able to address them in order to move forward? Think about the same 3 questions. Now apply it to situations that give you anxiety. Take a minute to pause the video and write down the answers to those questions. Now think about the advice you've gotten over the years to address those questions. Some of the advice you received may have been to go for a walk, listen to music, watch a movie, have something to eat, take a nap, have a drink, and many other forms of advice. Though some of these solutions may resolve the issue in the short term, in the long term, difficult feelings and situations that give us anxiety are still present in our life. All we have done is found a way to avoid them for a little while and received productively bad advice. The problems are still there. Even when we get advice to talk with someone about our problems, which can help, we also make the person we are talking to complicit in whatever decision we end up making. Mindfulness, or even journaling, provides a skill to engage these problems, as opposed to avoiding them. My hope is that by watching this video, you have a clearer understanding of what mindfulness is, what it can do for you, and that we have dispelled a few myths about it. There is a great quote, "Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers." As we close out, take a few minutes to reflect on what you think that quote means.